The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
That was then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton during her sometimes contentious testimony more than 2 years ago, following the terror attack that killed 4 Americans at our consulate in Benghazi, Libya. It's now roughly 12 hours until Mrs. Clinton testifies again, and there are lots of questions from those who knew the 4 men lost that night.
I still want to know, I saw on TV the bloody fingerprints on the walls over there. I asked specifically, are those my son's fingerprints crawling down the wall, the bloody fingerprints? Nobody ever got back to me on that. Are those his fingerprints? Were those his fingerprints? What happened?
Joining me now, a woman who will have the chance to question Mrs. Clinton tomorrow, Congresswoman Martha Roby, Republican from Alabama. Great to see you tonight, ma'am. Thank you for being here. So what of
that? Thank you for having me.
Is the plan to get into specifics like that? Because the last time around, it was a lot of grandstanding.
Well, first and foremost, we knew this day would come. Unfortunately, because of a lot of dragging of feet and stonewalling by the State Department and others, it's taken us a long time to get here. And of course, our hearts go out to the families whom we've met with of the victims, the 4 Americans who unnecessarily lost their lives. And that's the charge of this committee. This committee was charged to find the truth. We're on a fact-finding mission But to my point, you know, is that going to happen? Because the last time what we saw was a lot of puffery by Republicans who seemed to want to appear smart on camera but not to get answers to questions. Well, this is the first time this committee has had the opportunity to speak to Secretary Clinton. And of course, we also now have information that we didn't have in the past. Even though it took a really long time to get it, we now have documents to ask questions that will fill in the missing pieces. Secretary Clinton, this investigation is not about her. She's just a small piece of it, or an important piece, but a piece of it.
Is it being divvied up at all, the questioning, to those on the committee who are, you know, most adept at asking questions, you know, the former prosecutors, for example?
Well, certainly we each have interest based on our experiences. But, you know, the questions are for her to have an opportunity to be forthright with the committee, to show us candor, to answer our questions so that we can have a report that is complete on behalf of these 4 Americans that unnecessarily lost their lives. This is a fact-finding mission, and she was Secretary of State at the time, and it's incumbent upon her to answer the questions that relate to her role. And
we didn't have the emails last time around. I mean, that's the bottom line. To those who say this is repetitive.
Well, we still don't have all the emails.
I know you didn't have any of them last time because she wasn't producing them. We'll be watching, Congressman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Joining me now, Brandon Webb. He's a former Navy SEAL and a close friend of Glenn Doherty, who was murdered in Benghazi. He's also the author of the book Among Heroes, a U.S. Navy SEAL's story of friendship, heroism, and the ultimate sacrifice. Richard Socarides is also here. He's White House senior advisor under President Bill Clinton and a Democratic strategist. Thank you both for being here. Brandon, what specifically are you going to be looking for tomorrow?
I mean, the big question I have for Hillary is why didn't she hold Patrick Kennedy and Charlene Lamb accountable? I mean, those are the 2 individuals at the State Department. All the evidence points to their negligence with the security situation.
They were warned. They were told it was deteriorating.
Charlene Lamb office getting the cables, the continued request for help, and nobody's held accountable. And as a Navy SEAL Chief Petty Officer, one of the first things we learn about leadership is holding yourself accountable and holding your subordinates accountable. So I really want to know, how are these people still able to operate as business as usual at the State Department?
So your position is not necessarily Hillary should have known everything. It's that she knows who was responsible and she didn't do anything.
Yeah, I understand that her role as the Secretary of State, she was not involved in day-to-day operations. But clearly Kennedy and Charlene Lamb were, and all the evidence that in the reporting that we did on SOFREP.com points to just extreme negligence on Kennedy's.
So why is she protecting them? Him in particular. Exactly. Him in particular. And that is the same guy, Patrick Kennedy, who is overseeing her processing on her emails, and the one who should have been keeping shop on those emails.
A guy that also held Ambassador Stevens' personal laptop and his diary in his office for almost 30 days before turning it over to the FBI. So there's just a clear case of a lack of transparency and a lack of accountability across the board. And that's very concerning to me.
Richard, I know the Democrats say, look, 7 committees have investigated Benghazi, right? So why do they need an
7
8th?
bipartisan committees.
But to the point about
including the one that Congresswoman Roby chaired, including one that she previously chaired.
You know that in the law, if you have a case and the case goes all the way to settlement, and you find out after the verdict or the settlement that the other side didn't produce critical documents to you, you can reopen the case. Well, she did not produce her emails.
All that material was, I think all that material is available, and we'll know tomorrow if they have anything new. I mean, they've suggested that they may have some new emails, but not from her, right? I mean, they've suggested they have some other emails.
All of her emails were withheld.
Well, Megyn,
for all of those prior investigations.
Okay. So let's just take a step back here, right? I mean, the Congresswoman said this is not about her. I mean, that is crazy. Obviously, tomorrow and her testimony is all about her. Obviously, this committee, this whole process that the committee has been involved in is all about her. The House Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, said, in fact, we set up this committee so to push down her poll numbers.
Certainly about her in part. But is that so wrong? Is that so wrong?
No, I don't. I actually think that the American people know that this has become very political, that this is not an effort to find out really what happened in Benghazi. This is not an effort to improve diplomatic security.
That we just saw clip from CNN, and also Brandon, whose best friend was killed.
And Hillary Clinton lost a very close friend in Ambassador Chris Stevens that night too. You don't think she mourns for Ambassador Stevens, as we all do?
Go ahead, Brandon.
I want to say thank you for your service, and I think that obviously everybody thinks it's a tragedy what happened, but it's a tragedy that affected all of us. And if this were really an effort,
I understand that, but she was in charge. I want to give him the last word.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk and then there's action. I mean, I can listen to politicians say, "Oh, my heart goes out to the families," but the fact is, one of the issues that came up from all the attention on the Benghazi committee is there's over 50 families of contractors since 1983 in the Beirut barracks bombing who have not been paid a death benefit, like my best friend Glenn Doherty. His family, so here we have an American hero, gives his life in Benghazi. His family goes to the White House. They get a bunch of lip service from Hillary. And at the end of the day, the family is left holding the bag as far as not even getting a basic death benefit to bury their family members.
They got a $3,000 payment, and that was it.
And you've got 2 initiatives held up in the House right now. You have an initiative called the Lynch Bill under my friend Glenn's name. That's held up in the House that's supposed to reform the Defense Base Act and provide relief for these families. You have an initiative from
we're not there.
Yeah,
we're not there. Dianne Feinstein and another.
Yeah, in the CIA.
Putting the brakes on it.
Senate Intel Committee also held up. And these career politicians, I think Americans are just sick of this paralysis by analysis. It's time for action to take care of these families.
Thank you both.